So, Ruthann, today's episode is brought to you by national carriers out of the Dallas area.
The ones with the pretty blue Kenworth.
They have very nice trucks.
Yes, they do.
They're looking for lease purchase drivers, and they'll take on a few student drivers. 888-311-7076. Tell them Talk CDL sent you over. Ruthann, today we've got a lot to talk about, but I was thinking about, as we were getting ready to do this, I seen a video the other day.
Okay.
And this video was titled, Driver Claims He Had a Front Tire Blowout.
Okay. Like what, the steering, is that the steering wheel then? The steering
The
tire?
steer tire, yeah.
Okay.
They're saying his steer tire, he got into an accident. And he took out two cars. He's coming down the interstate, right? And he takes out these two cars that are on the side of the road. He tells everybody, I guess the investigators, he tells them, my steer tire blew. And they played the dash cam, which is the inward dash cam back.
Okay. So, okay.
Anyways, I wish we were kind of doing a video right now, because then you could see. I'm going to show you what it really looked like. They showed the inward facing dash cam at the time he said he had a tire blow. Mm-hmm. He's going down the road and he does this. He falls asleep. He literally fell asleep. And because there was a car, I don't know if there was a car helping another driver on the side of the road, he took out the sides of their vehicle, which most likely blew his tire.
Yeah, that's why I said, okay.
So he was a quick thinker.
That's not quick.
Exactly. So here he is. I guess he's on the side of the road with the cops now. Flash forward, a few minutes later.
And he's a lot of adrenaline going, so he's now woken up.
Right. And notices the tire's blown. It's like, okay, this is great, man. I can put this together and, not my fault. Tire blew.
Yeah, that's the story. My tire blew.
Well, do you remember that on David Letterman? When the guy that used to hide underneath the stage, and then he would go, yeah, that's the ticket.
I was thinking Bugs Bunny, but you can think David Letterman.
But no, seriously. They play the dash cam, the inward facing dash cam, and he took a nap while driving. Now, whether he was under pressure, was he over on his hours? I don't even know what company he was with, because who knows? Did they have him driving illegally? Well, I don't know why the guy fell asleep, but the bottom line is
He was tired.
he lied.
Yeah.
And now he's in a lot of trouble.
Extremely.
So, but anyways, that was my little opener story. I just thought, maybe drivers need to know that Big Brother is always watching. There's always it's funny. There's always a camera on us.
There is. Anymore, there is. There's one at every intersection. There's one, a lot of times when there's an incident that happens, the first thing that cops will look for is like an ATM or something to that effect that's nearby to catch someone on camera to see what happened. So you're calling them Big Brother. I'm calling them them. I'm just going to call them them.
Yeah, there's just, it's almost impossible these days to not be on camera somewhere. Mm-hmm. And especially if you have a dash cam facing you.
Yeah, that's what got me when you said his in-facing dash cam. I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
You can't lie when you're being recorded. I mean, that's kind of...
I don't know. Maybe he thought the cop wouldn't notice an inward-facing dash cam. I don't even know if they can request those.
I'm sure they could. Why couldn't they?
Can they subpoena those? I'm sure they can. Yeah. But either way, maybe the guy was thinking, well, the only one that'll know is my company. They'll fire me, but I won't get in trouble, by the law. Now he's in trouble with everybody. So
no, because even the cops, when you have something that you're lying about, they can get you for, they can actually ticket you for lying.
I've met some drivers over the years, not many. And as we're talking, as I'm talking to the driver, he reveals to me the reason he can't get a job, or the reason he left his last job, was because he fell asleep at the wheel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's very rare that you hear about it.
Oh, is that why you said the not many? Because I'm like thinking to myself when you said it, I'm like, man, you've talked to lots of drivers. Now I got it. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, Ruthann was giving me a look. Anyways.
Is that hairy eyeball I guess I get?
But no, what I'm trying to say is it's very rare that somebody will even admit that. Mm-hmm. And so now this guy will ultimately try to get a job somewhere. And if it's what you call a DAC reporting company, or a company that, or reports the higher rate, he'll have a tough time, because when you work for a company, like, I don't care, any mid-sized, small company, big company that and probably 90% of these companies report to higher rate.
A lot of them anymore, yes.
And therefore, what I'm getting at is some drivers that are in this situation, they're going to try to lie to the next company they go to work for. And they're going to just tell them, they'll try not to put that company down. Now, if he was there for a couple of years, it's almost impossible not to put it down. Say he's only been at the company for a couple of months. Well, it's easy to make that disappear, because, trucking companies can just write down, just the guy can lie and put down and get a notarized letter saying he was at home and not working for those 2 months. But where it gets a lot of these guys is, if it's a company that reports to DAC and you say, I wasn't working at those 2 months, and they pull your DAC, it's going to show you were in an accident with this company. They're going to call the company, and then they're going to find out. In fact, the company might even say, here, let us send you the dash cam, evidence.
Right.
And therefore, what I'm getting at is, in my long-winded, it's going to be almost impossible for him to get what's called a very good job. Because most of your really good companies report to DAC.
That wasn't just long-winded. That kind of was like a figure 8. You went around, and then just when we thought you were going to get right back to the subject, you went right back around again. So
yeah, I kind of went around.
But the one thing you did forget about mentioning is the PSP. Now, even PSPs are, if the company's not reporting the DAC, it's going to show up on the PSP. So there's really no way to get out of it.
Well, and that brings me to that. And I was going to mention the PSP.
Oh, you're going to go on the other 8?
No, I'm not going to go flying around on this one. I'm just going to mention it, though. A lot of drivers that have worked for little crap companies try not to put down, because they don't want their resume to look like it's got 500 jobs on it. So they'll leave off a lot of companies. Well, like you said, the problem is, even if you get an inspection, you get inspected, you get a level 1, 2, 3, whatever, that goes on your PSP. Company they pull your PSP, and then they go, okay, why isn't this job down on your application? I see you were inspected by Joe Schmo's Trucking, but you don't have Joe Schmo down on your resume. Well, The reason he didn't put Joe Schmo on is maybe he was fired, or he fell asleep at the wheel and got into an accident, whatever the case.
Right. Just for a heads up on those, I know, we want to move on, but what happens a lot with those PSPs is, you're saying like they work for Joe Schmo. Well, Joe Schmo might have been leased to another company, but the driver doesn't really realize that they're coming up that way. So what happens is, every single company that owner-operator was leased to is going to show up on that. And sometimes it's like multiple different ones, and you really don't know it. So it might show that you have more companies than you really do.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's a good information for these drivers to know. And the one thing that, when you have, like, say, something bad on your record, say you failed a drug screen, or you got into an accident like this guy did, falling asleep. His best way to get a job at this point, I'm going to tell you what it is.
Yes, please tell us, because I haven't figured it out yet.
Well, I mean, odds are he's not going to get a really good job, but he's going to most likely be able to get hired. But what he needs to do is pick up the phone, and before, when he gets on the phone with a recruiter, just get it right out. Hey, Mr. Recruiter, can you live with this? I was in an accident because I fell asleep at the wheel. And he's going to either say yes or no. you know, but at least you're not going to go through hours of lying
Right.
when you can get on the phone and just spend hours with, like, say, maybe 50 trucking companies, and you might find one that goes, you know, we're self-insured, it looks like, you know, you got a great resume up to that point,
Right.
we're going to give you a chance. And a lot of companies, for example, in that situation won't give them a chance because most of them don't want to be the first company to hire you when you've been fired for an accident.
Right. And that's extremely good because the drivers don't realize, and I'm saying the drivers, it's kind of really weird the way I say that, but if you're honest with everyone that you speak with, no matter what you have, fallen asleep, cell phone tickets, all those things are really majors. And if you're upfront with them right away, they respect you more, and they'll say yeah or no right away instead of wasting your time and their time. You waste their time, they get irritated.
Well, when a driver calls a company and has to lie about those, like, for example, the cell phone ticket or the drug failure or the accident where I fell asleep because I and got into an accident. Well, when you lie about that, they're going to check you out, and then you're never going to hear them from the company anyways. So why not? You waste a lot of time going through your lies when you could literally in 1 hour keep ringing people's phones. Hey, can you live with this? Hey, can you live with this? Hey, can you live with this? Maybe, yes, give us an application. You know, that's really the best way to be. I mean, like you said, believe it or not, that old cliche, honesty is the best policy. In this case, it really is because you're being honest with them. So guess what? They can already tell you up front because they're going to check on you anyways.
Right.
You know, and B, if they said, yes, we can help you, you're going to go into that company now without having to do what? Look over your shoulders and hope that someday a report doesn't come up that you lied to get in there. You know, like, for example, some drivers will get a ticket, a 15 over, and they know, well, this company's not going to hire me. So, but I just got it last week, so I don't have to tell them. Okay, well, you lie. You think you don't have to tell them, so you're honest, except that for that reference of the major speeding ticket, they hire you, but little do you know, a trucking company, most of them run your MVR every 6 months to a year, the whole time you're there, just in case you get other tickets.
Right.
So now you in a few months, your company runs your record, and they find that just before we hired you, you got a 15 over and you didn't tell us about it. Now we're going to fire you for falsification on your application. Guess what? Now when you go get a job, you get a 15 over and a falsification of application on your record.
Exactly.
So you only make it worse when you keep trying to bury everything with lies. Anyways, point being, okay, this guy is going to have a hard time getting a job, but if he's honest, there's a small chance. There's a little chance that he can, get another job, but be upfront, like Ruth Ann said. How about we move on?
Let's move on.
We're also brought to you today by driving-tests.org. That's driving-tests.org. They guarantee that you will pass your CDL or your money back. And it costs, I think it's like $45 or $50 for them. I think it's $45 for the month. And again, if you're paying $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 for a trucking school, an extra $50 that says we guarantee you your CDL.
It's a small investment for the large investment that you're making.
Yeah, it's almost like an insurance policy on your big investment, like you're saying. With the trucking.
It's stupid. Why go through all that time just to not make it?
Yeah. Anyways, go to driving-test.org and let them know that Talk CDL sent you over there. Moving on, Ruth Ann.
Moving on.
Hey, you're on top of it today.
Hey, it's at the evening now. I'm not in the morning, so I've got it now.
So, since we just mentioned this trucker about the dash cam, I want to bring up something that just happened this past week, and most people know about it. The accident where the trucker ran up the school bus's rear end. But a lot of people don't realize that accident happened just a few minutes from where we live.
Right.
Right on Highway 19, which many truck drivers know about, the famous coastal highway here that runs along the Gulf of Mexico. You got some information off people today. I watched the video. It was on Twisted Truckers. And it's kind of scary because the school bus is literally has the lights on. You know, like when they stop to either let a child out or let children on the bus. And I literally watched that video over and over and over again. It's a 10-second video, and the truckers, you're watching it through his dash cam. And you can watch the countdown. It's actually, you can watch the countdown, and from the time the video starts, now this is all you get right here, is from the time the video starts, he hits it at 5 seconds. What we don't see is what was previous to that 5 seconds. You heard today that an entire 9 seconds went by.
Well, yes, I did hear that it was
That's
like
allegedly.
8 or 9 seconds went by, but who's to say that might have been, you know, the few minutes of or a few seconds that happened that we don't see, or it could be what was all up on Twisted Trucker. I'm gathering that it was, the way it was said to me, is it was what was prior to what we seen.
So let me set the stage here. You have a school bus on Highway 19. It stopped with its lights on. I don't know if it's allowing kids on or off.
It was in the morning, I believe.
So it was in the morning, so children are getting on the bus. You watch this video of this trucker coming down. I think it was a southbound coming towards Inglis. It's just above Crystal River, like 10 miles above Crystal River is a little town called Inglis.
Inglis, Yankee Town.
Right, which goes into Levy County. Okay, it's the next county up from Citrus where we're at. And if you watch this video, right at about 4.5 seconds, right at 5 seconds,
Yeah, really
right
close
in
to
that
around
area,
5.
You can see the truck driver. He responds and swerves as hard as he can, and he clips the back end of that bus. He I mean, I know a lot of people have seen this picture. He destroys his truck. The bus is destroyed.
It is horrifying.
And then you got reports on two of there was 10 children on that bus, is what the news says. And you got reports on 2 of them that got hurt the worst. What are those reports?
The one young girl is still in a coma, and the other one had to have her leg amputated.
That's the result. Now, I'm going to say this. You know, some people might say, oh, maybe the trucker had a medical emergency. And you know what? That could very well be. But in this day and age, when you swerve at the last second because you weren't paying attention, if you were having a medical emergency and you had the will to swerve at the last second, then you should have had the will to guide it out of the way to begin with.
Or take your foot off the fuel.
Right. You can really see in this video, and the video really says a lot. He's just directly barreling down the highway. Okay. And obviously, he's not looking.
Yeah, because when he swerved to the left, not to the right either.
Right. So he swerves right to the left, whips the wheel as hard as he can. He has the conscious decision not to go off the berm,
where kids will be getting on the bus.
Right. He had at least tried to, avoid it at the last second. But the worst part is he should have never been in the position that he had to swerve to begin with.
Right. And I'm not sure, if these were like the exact ages of these children. I believe they were high school, but I'm not sure. The fact is no matter what, these are still, the one is still severely hurt,
Right. So going back to what we were talking about earlier on that other driver that fell asleep. That driver that fell asleep has a chance at a job. The guy that hit the school bus, okay, and I think it said it was a 34-year-old man. I don't know if it was from Sumter County or he was from around here. It wasn't far. Sefner County, yes. Thank you. I don't see him ever getting a job again.
Oh, I don't, because here's the thing is they don't, the young girl I'm saying girl, but I think it was a girl that is still in the coma. There's nothing to find on whether or not she's going to live or not. So if she passes, he's got manslaughter or negligent in that manner on his resume also. So he's not going to have his license anymore.
So just let me briefly break these 2 accidents down that we just talked about. one, the guy that fell asleep has a chance at a job. But here's what I would tell you. Okay, even if you have a company that's pushing you and you're dead tired, you guys always have to remember one thing. Who's the captain of the ship?
I was going to say that.
You can say it. Go ahead, say it.
I'm the captain of the ship.
And you are the captain of the ship. And so if you're tired or you feel the truck is going to be unsafe to move, whether it be weather, whether it be fatigue, you have an obligation.
Especially if you are ill and you are taking medicine, like say you have a head cold, you need to be responsible.
You have an obligation to keep the public safe when you have 80,000 pounds. Okay, you have an obligation as the captain of that ship to keep everybody around you safe.
And the company will respect you for that.
Well, not every company. There's jackass companies that would get pissed off because you pulled over and their load was late or whatever the case is. But if it's a company that's pushing you and you're doing 4,000 miles a week and you really are tired, and maybe this truck driver was tired. I mean, I watched the video, the first one, where he just fell asleep. Okay, he should have already known that to drive in that condition, if you're tired enough that you're going to fall asleep at the wheel, you really need to smack yourself and say, no, I'm going to take this thing off the road before I kill somebody.
Well, here's the thing. If you're a driver that maybe doesn't get sick that often, so you're going to be taking some head cold medicine, or you're a driver that does everything you can for the company, but whatever reason, you just did not sleep well and you need to pull over for, a cat nap of an hour and a half or whatever the case might be. If you're a really good driver and you tell the company, you're telling dispatch, hey, listen, I need to stop, they're going to respect you and they're going to want that. The ones that are not are companies you don't want to be with anyways, and it doesn't matter what you say or do. They're going to treat you like a jerk anyways.
I agree with that 100%. But I'm just talking about the part where we, as truck drivers, as truckers, we cannot blame anybody but me.
Yeah.
Okay, when I get to the point where I feel the truck is unsafe, and that would really be under the cover of fatigue. You're tired. I'm dozing off. My eyes, I can't even keep my eyes. You need to wind the window down until you can get to a safe haven and take a nap. And it doesn't matter at that point if you got fired, for the simple reason it's better to be fired for not taking the load or being late on a load than destroying your truck and cars around and maybe hurting or killing somebody. That's the first accident. Okay, that guy has a shot at a job, but he still is really responsible if he was tired. And anybody listening to me, you're responsible. Now, the second accident that we talked about, that guy, in all sincerity, probably isn't going to get a job, and in my eyes, doesn't deserve a job I'm going to say allegedly an if he was looking at his cell phone, okay, or he was looking at something and reading it, or whatever he was doing, if it wasn't a medical emergency. If he wasn't having a medical emergency and he was strictly on that phone texting or reading or surfing on the net, and they're going to check his cell phone.
Oh yeah, don't know.
There's absolutely, he could have thrown that phone in the creek, okay, or the creek, whatever whatever we Floridans say. But the bottom line is, he could have threw it in the creek and got rid of it, and they're still going to go back to AT&T or T-Mobile, whoever is your provider, and they're going to find out anyways, what exactly you were doing at the moment of that accident. So there's really no hiding that at all. So the bottom line with that is, unless it was an emergency, he shouldn't even, I believe he should never work again. If you're going to be that irresponsible to where you think, see, that's another example. We were talking about that a couple of weeks ago, where a driver goes down the road at 55 to 70 mile an hour, and he actually, in 5 to 7 seconds, he covers a couple football fields. That you don't even, in fact, the one driver was interviewed and he said, I didn't even realize I had gone 2 football fields till he actually hit something. And that was the guy at the red light. Remember we talked about the guy that ran in and killed the guy in the car. He admitted it from prison. He said, I didn't even realize how far I traveled, because your mind gets taken away when there's something about reading or getting your mind preoccupied on something. Or if somebody from home is texting you, and I'm going to tell you something, if you got a wife or a husband or somebody at home, a girlfriend, a boyfriend that's texting you, well, you are endangering the trucker. Because if they open that text and they start reading, now they're totally distracted. And so if that is the case, then I believe this guy should lose his license forever. I mean that.
Not only that, but, thank the Lord that there was only that few children on the bus at the time, and because of the circumstances. It could have been much worse.
Well, if he wouldn't have swerved, he would have just destroyed that bus.
I think there was like 5 that were actually totally injured on that bus. 5
injured, yeah. So I didn't know the actual injured count, but I know it said there was 10 children total on the bus. So bottom line is, guys and gals, I'm serious. If all these warnings aren't stopping you from texting or driving unsafe in an unsafe time, again, the guy with the guy fell asleep. Another example is if you're driving and you're nervous about the road conditions and you think, oh my gosh, I'm nervous, I'm going to get in an accident. Go and pull into a rest area until they get the roads clear.
Right.
You have the obligation.
Well, here's the thing. PSP holds you responsible now for your inspections, right?
Correct.
So if you're liable for the truck's condition when it comes to the brakes or any of the equipment, like the lights and so forth, because they feel as though you should be doing your pre and post trips, the same thing goes for whether or not you're tired or not. If you're tired, then you're not able to drive and you should be pulling over also. If they want to hold you liable for that, that's the same concept. You know what I'm saying?
I absolutely do.
See, that's good.
Cool. So moving on.
Yeah,
let's move on. How about we are brought to you today by Carter Lumber.
Yes.
CarterLumber.com/talk CDL. They are a trucking company and more. They're looking for Class A and Class B drivers to run local only, home every day. So if you're interested, if you're a road driver or even you're another local driver and you want to change jobs, you want to get off the road and you want to be home every day, okay, and you're a Class A or a Class B driver, go to CarterLumber.com/talk CDL, fill out a couple little questions. They'll contact you, get you in, and give you an awesome local home everyday job. That's CarterLumber.com/talk CDL. Moving on, Ruthann.
Moving on.
What did you have for us today? Did you have something? I got something kind of a little off the. It's still in trucking. I want to talk about it but do you have something? I thought you had said you had a couple things you want to talk about today.
Well, I do. And the reason why I wanted to bring one of these subjects up, we had talked a lot about autonomous vehicles in the past, right? We covered it so much that we didn't want to speak about it again. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because it has come back up into the news as far as who has liability in a crash for autonomous vehicles. And the former the former person for the FMCSA, Wiley Deck, he said that everybody that has responsibility for it, not just the person that makes the vehicles, not just the company, but the FMCSA themselves too. And it brought me into looking into, okay, well, I can understand to a point. The reason is they feel as though that it should be monitored so much that every person that is involved in that trucking company should be liable if there's a crash.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, you're not the only one, because there's other people that did not agree with them.
But I will tell you, in my book, the guy making the truck, the guy that stands to make billions of dollars off of driving truckers out of the industry and using your driverless trucks to deliver freight. If you wreck into the motor public and you hurt or kill somebody, I believe that they should sue you so much you can't afford it. And I mean that sincerely. I don't believe the trucking company owner. Now, I'll be honest with you. The trucking company owner, if you're going to take a chance and, you probably do have a little bit I believe you should have a little responsibility to it. But I surely believe, because listen, I don't believe the driver should be responsible because now the driver's sitting.
There is no driver.
No, I know, but the autonomous vehicles, they're saying they have to have a driver in the truck. So it's like it's like a jetliner. You have to have a pilot and a co-pilot, and they're saying that these guys. But once you get a trucker so used to not having to worry about driving, once you get these vehicles to where you just program and it takes you where you're going. When they start wrecking because of equipment failure, Microsoft chip failures, and all this other garbage that's going to make it fail eventually, you know what? When you get that trucker so relaxed and used to not worrying about what's going to happen, then you bring it all on yourself, autonomous maker. You guys that make this truck, you're bringing it on yourself by trying to make everybody confident in what we know is not going to be. I really don't think that you're going to... Imagine this. Imagine this. You're in an autonomous car, right? You and your family. Mm-hmm. And you're just going down the highway. Here you are, everything's great. We just programmed, we're going to Disneyland. Right? So there you are going to Disneyland, right? There you are, you're on 50. Like Ruth Ann's bopping because you don't have to drive, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the Microsoft chip fails and you run through a stop sign and you broadside somebody. Badoof. How horrible is that going to be? You know, how terrifying is that going to be knowing that you had no control over that?
I think I'd pee myself.
Yeah, exactly. You would pee yourself.
I would.
But the bottom line is, imagine a tractor trailer now doing that same thing. And you know what? This is going to, when they have failures, it's not just going to happen to people that are reckless. It's going to happen to people that never had an accident in their life. I've never been in an accident in my life. I drove for 45 years as a car driver. My insurance was perfect. And I get in this autonomous vehicle and it runs a stop sign and broadsides somebody and it kills somebody. Mm-hmm. Or somebody in my car was killed. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen then? You know, because we're being forced to have this thrown upon us. I call BS on that article, and I think the maker of the vehicle bears 99% of the burden, 99.9.
Well, first of all, we did have remember that one vehicle we had? It was the one minivan, and one time I go to start it, and that chip's gone, and it was only 2 years old. Remember that? So, anyways.
Yeah, you stalled in an intersection.
Yeah, those chips can go at any time. Exactly. I was at a stop sign and boom. Or not a stop sign, an intersection, and I couldn't go further. I had to get pushed off the side of the road, and it was almost brand new. So it happens. It's funny because there's I don't know, maybe 5 people involved in the making of these autonomous vehicles, and Google is actually part of it. Google, Waymo company is owned by Google. So, I mean, or Google's owned by them. Either way, you have so many different people.
Trust me, Google is not owned by anybody. They own Waymo, W-A-Y-M-O.
Yeah, Waymo company owned by Google, parent company Alphabet.
Exactly.
As well as a tech developer, Aurora.
You know why they're all separate companies?
Because it's better for them financially.
No, it's better for them lawsuit-wise. I'm serious. Dead serious. That's why you don't see it saying Google autonomous vehicles. The reason why? Because they form another corporation. I've read this recently, actually, on different corporations. Mm-hmm. They form another corporation and its own entity. That way, if it does fail and it does kill a bunch of people, Google is not getting sued directly. Waymo is going to get sued. They'll go out of business. Google will be fine.
Right.
I'm serious. That's the truth.
I understand completely when it comes to that. But if you want to read and try and understand half the stuff that they're trying to say, I found this article on Overdrive Online, and that's where I started reading about it. But of course, it's on a lot of other pages. There's just not one person's going to sit there and say, I think all of us should be blamed. They all think the actual people that make the OEMs say, oh, we stand behind our stuff. We are not going to ever have an incident. That's pretty much what they're saying. So,
well, whatever fails and gets the autonomous vehicle in a wreck, I think that is really where the lawsuit needs to go directed at. I'm serious.
I agree. I think that Wiley Deck had it pretty much under control when he said that everybody should be blamed for it, because if the FMCSA cannot monitor and keep an eye on it just as much as the people that build it, the people that monitor everything at all, it all has to come together. They all should have some form of a responsibility in it, because if the FMCSA is too lax with it, then they're just as much as fault as the person that has something that they're not fully testing to make sure that it's not flawless. You know what I'm saying? It's all going to have an issue with it. I don't think
you're saying everybody that had a part in building the truck.
Everything.
You're not saying the guy that works at the trucking company should be blamed. Or are they saying that too?
Wiley Deck, the guy from the FMCSA, the former, I cannot get that word out today. He says that everybody, even the FMCSA, anybody that is at all involved with that autonomous vehicle should be at fault if something happens, because they all have something to do with that truck, period.
Well, in a way, whoever's trying to bring it into the industry bears responsibility, but I don't think the driver should bear responsibility. I really don't. I mean, unless, of course, he's sitting in the seat and something happens and he didn't grab the wheel. But, again, think about this also, and because I want to move on, but think about this one thing about an autonomous vehicle. Think about reaction time for a second. You're sitting in a truck, you've been in a truck, and it's driving itself, right? Mm-hmm. Now let's be honest. I will almost guarantee you 99% of all truckers, if autonomous vehicles came out next year, let's say they came out next year, and you were obligated to be in that seat, right? I guarantee you, even if you weren't obligated to be sitting in that seat, you were still going to want to be in that seat. I would want to be in that seat. I wouldn't be trusting some vehicle, first time out the gate. But now let's say you're in the autonomous vehicle and you go a week, nothing happens. It does its job. You go 2 weeks, nothing happened. It does its job. You go a month. Next thing you know, you're going to start, that was me, sorry. Next thing you know, you're going to start trusting and having confidence in that autonomous vehicle.
Yeah, you're going to get lazy.
Exactly. So now you're sitting at the wheel, you're preoccupied, you really can't drive, you're just sitting there monitoring as it's going down the road, right?
Daydreaming.
That's it, you're daydreaming. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, a Microsoft chip fail or whatever, something fails, and that truck does something stupid, maybe even say a front wheel blowout, right? I don't know, whatever the case is, but the bottom line is something happens. You're already relaxed now for the last month. How quickly do you think your reaction is going to be after chilling out for a month, and when something happens and you got 1 second to grab that wheel?
Right.
How you can almost guarantee that you're going to have an accident. Mm-hmm. It's because, first off, you're not even prepared at this point, because the first day you were going like this. Okay, I'm watching. All right, we're going to be going out into the wheel. Oh, what's it doing? Oh, it's doing fine. Oh, you're going to keep doing that. And then you're going to start getting less anxiety as this thing is driving you around, and less and less and less. And then one day something happens, you ain't going to be ready for it, because it gave you too much confidence that nothing was ever going to happen.
Right. No, I agree.
So I don't blame the driver is what I'm saying.
I don't think they're saying anything about, I don't know how much they're saying as far as the driver being blamed. I know they say that they're too far out to really get the fact of the driver not being in the seats yet. But one thing that this Wiley Deck did say, he says, yet the state of play today is such that there's no substitute for the human mind's quick reaction creativity. If you're just entering trucking, Deck said, you'll be able to retire as a truck driver if you want to. The industry is so diverse, so large, we're talking millions of trucks out there right now. How quickly can the OEMs replace all these trucks? They're trying to say that, which this isn't the first article I read, that you're looking at least another 20 more years plus just before we'd have enough of the trucks out there replaced by the autonomous vehicles.
I could just say this. I'm glad I'm not a 21-year-old kid with the dream of being a trucker, because, and if I'm being totally honest, with everybody seeing giant dollars in the trucking industry, the greedy people of the world, and the way they regulate the trucking industry. And I'm not trying to put it down, but they've really, I was talking to a driver the other day, and we both agreed, they've taken the fun out of being a trucker. They really have taken the fun out of it with their over-regulating and with this now trying to push autonomous vehicles. It's almost like Can you imagine? And I still think trucking, is a good job, but it sure isn't what it was before. And I love trucking, okay? And I still think we need to have CBs, and I still think we need to have driver courtesy, and I still think we need to take care of each other, and we can make this, okay, a good industry to be in. But the more and more and more the future is looking, I'm just saying it's scary for somebody that might want to be a trucker in, 15 years from now.
These kids in high school, the next generation that was even at Matt's,
Right.
those guys.
So, but again, I don't want to sound negative on the trucking industry itself, because it's something that I've grown up in, and I love the trucking industry. I just the people that are trying to stick their nose into it is really what the annoying part is. And I know most experienced truckers feel this same way. In fact, most of them will say it's really different. Again, it's still a good industry and it's still a good job. It's just that, gosh, just the freedom. It seems like you got a little less freedom out there. But then again, I don't want to sound like a whiner. So I'm going to just stop and let's move on.
Let's move on
from here. Ruth Ann, we are brought to you today by LoadSmart's Camion.
The break-even calculator.
Yeah, and again, we said this last week for Camion, Kamion. Camion came out with this break-even calculator for lease purchase drivers, for owner-operators, for companies. I don't care if you have 10,000 trucks, it's a free download. You just go to Camion, Kamion, Camion.io/TalkCDL. That's Camion.io/TalkCDL. With fuel prices being over $5 a gallon, and freight rates have come down, so that means you're getting less for your freight and you're paying out more to get the freight there in fuel. This break-even calculator is designed just for these purposes, to help you literally squeeze every dollar out of it that you can. So download it, go to Camion.io/TalkCDL and download the break-even calculator. It's free, and let us know how much money it's really saving you. It'll change the way you truck.
I think you'd be surprised.
Business-wise. Moving on, Ruth Ann.
Moving on.
So what's going on?
Well, what is one of the things when you are a driver that you remember as far as being such a remarkable area, such as a beautiful sight to see?
There's two places. Actually, there's more than two places. There's about a handful of places that stick out in my mind. Now that's a great question. The remarkable areas. And a lot of people, if they sat down and they go, well, let me think about it. But really, what I'm thinking here, what you meant by is when someone says, name a remarkable area, what comes to mind right away? What sticks out above the rest? No, don't sit and think about it for 5-10 minutes. And so when you ask that question to me, Troy, what really sticks out? 3 places popped into my head for scenery.
Okay.
The first one was running from Flagstaff down 17 and through
his hand's doing a little stink motion.
It was such a beautiful scenery going down 17. Amazing. Okay. Believe it or not, upstate New York in the winter. It's like
in the winter.
I grew up in the winter up there. So, but the bottom line is upstate New York, up in Buffalo, up in Horseheads, in those areas when the snow is on the trees, it's like you're driving through you swear you're driving in a postcard. It's that beautiful. The third area that popped into my head was when I went up over Cabbage and I was running along, in Oregon, heading out to Seattle. And then I came back across 90, all the way through Spokane into Idaho and then through Montana. That was absolutely picturesque also. And then the fourth thing that always comes to mind to me, our home state of Pennsylvania, where we're from, is to me one of the most gorgeous. If you're ever on a plane and you're flying and you fly over Pennsylvania, Virginia, it's always green. It's just such a beautiful.
Except for in the fall, it's got some beautiful.
It's beautiful, picturesque. So that, and don't get me wrong, I was out there for many years. So there's many places that I've always told you, this was really beautiful. This was gorgeous. That was beautiful. But those 3-4 areas that just I just told you about, that's what came out when you said that. That's instantly popped out of my head.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is this year, they actually, it's not quite this year now. It's now last year because of the timing. But truck drivers had reported what their 5 best scenic drives were. And I'm going to tell you what these, this group of truck drivers or whoever they were, stated what they are, so that if you are new to the industry, you might be able to try and get to see some of them.
Yeah, it's almost like a to-do list now.
Exactly.
These guys put this out there for everybody. So what are the 5 truckers' best scenic routes?
The Pacific Coast Highway.
I've never run that, so I wouldn't know.
The Pacific Coast Highway in California is also called Highway 1, and it's one of the most iconic scenic drives in the United States. Driving along the Pacific Coast reminds you of the movie or TV show. It is about 650 miles long and runs from Capistrano Beach in Orange County to Leggett in northern Mendocino.
And that's so Highway 1, the Pacific Coast Highway.
Right, in California.
And I've heard that's a beautiful scenic route. Right. So these are some of the benefits truckers get. So this was it doesn't say whether it was number 1 or number 5.
No, it doesn't say which one they didn't number them. They just said that
these
top
are the
5.
Top 5. Okay, so what's next?
San Juan Skyway. So the San Juan Skyway is a scenic byway in Colorado, and it's known as the other name of it is called the $1 Million Highway. So it's got $1 million views because it's got the snow-capped mountains in the back, and it's got all the greenery then in the front of it. So this byway goes across San Juan National Forest and has provided truckers with beautiful views of the mountains and landscape, according to the Colorado.com in 2012. Which this is 10 years later or so. San Juan Skyway is one of America's best spring drives. So if you can hit it in the spring is when they say it's the best.
So what's next?
Beartooth Highway. Beartooth Highway is in Montana, and it's 68 miles of byway that runs through the southwest Montana and northwest Wyoming and goes into Yellowstone National Park.
Okay, and what's next?
I-64 in West Virginia.
Oh, that's a beautiful route.
Yeah. So,
in fact, I-64, isn't that with Sandstone Mountain on it? Yeah.
It says that it's got one of the most beautiful landscapes of the East Coast. Driving down I-64 in West Virginia feels like you're in a painting. If you have time to stop along the truck route, check out Tamarack, located just off I-64 in Beckley, West Virginia. Tamarack is a unique cultural center with art from local artisans and delicious foods.
Is that it?
No, you've got another one.
You got one last scenic route picked out by a group of truckers. What is the last one?
Utah's Route 12.
Okay, tell us about it.
Route 12 is one of the most scenic routes in the United States. It's often called the All-American Road. Also, there are 2 national parks at each end of the road, Bryce Canyon and Capitol Reef, and many other unique scenic views in between.
That was really nice of you to read that, Ruth Ann. And if you're a truck driver out there and you have your own pick, write to us. Write to Ruth Ann at talkcdl.com. That's Ruth Ann, RUTHANN, at talkcdl.com. Tell us what your most beautiful routes are, and let us know if you agree with these other group of truck drivers. You can always write to me also at Troy at talkcdl.com. If you want to come on the show, okay, send us why you want to come on the show, and we would love to have it. We have a driver that wanted us to send him a hat up in Canada, and he wrote to us yesterday saying, "Hey, I also want to be on the show." So if you want to come on the show, if you're a trucking company or somebody that has something interesting to say, write to us. You know, we get people that write to us all the time, and they want to advertise their product on the show. We're not to sound mean or anything, but we're not doing infomercials because that's not what truckers want to hear about, the latest tool, that someone's selling or the latest idea that someone's selling. So we don't allow people to do that. But if you want to sponsor the show and you have something that you would like to get out to our audience, you can write to RuthAnn at talkcdl.com. Ruth Ann, do you have the joke of the day?
I do.
Let's hear it.
Okay. I wasn't expecting a joke right just yet. Let me go to it. Why is money so stubborn?
I have no idea.
It doesn't want to make change.
All right. Ruth Ann's jokes are just right there. So what is the word of the day?
The word of the day is...
And before you give us the word of the day, I almost failed to mention the trucker's secretary, J.J. Keller.
Yeah.
So J.J. Keller, if you are a trucking company that doesn't have your paperwork in order, it's a nightmare. Maybe you're short-staffed. If you're, in these times, people are very short-staffed. Call J.J. Keller. No job is too big or too little at 888-601-2017. The trucker's secretary, like Ruth Ann calls them. If you're looking to get your DOT number, your authority, and you're not sure how to do it, call these people. They're amazing, and they are one of those companies that are just everywhere in the industry. So J.J. Keller at 888-601-2017. Give them a call today. Tell them Talk CDL sent you. Rudy, you got your word of the day, Ruth Ann? Mm-hmm. What is it?
Visceral.
What's it?
Visceral.
Visceral?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to play it one more time.
Visceral.
Visceral.
Mm-hmm.
So now how can we make these truckers smarter today, Ruth Ann? We get this from who? Word Genius. Mm-hmm. And Word Genius is not a sponsor of Talk CDL. We've just kind of adopted them, and we give them free advertisement every week because we love them, and they make Ruth Ann smarter, and they make some of you drivers out there smarter also.
I'm sure they have. I'm sure a driver at least once has used one of my words.
And the Word Genius is free. You can download that, and they'll send you Word every day. So you don't have to just get it once a week at Talk CDL. You can get it every day right from Word Genius if you're interested. So visceral, Ruth Ann, what does it mean?
Relating to deep inward feelings rather than to the intellect. So
Read it in a sentence.
A visceral reaction is an emotion one feels in one's gut.
A visceral reaction, something that's deep down inside.
Yeah, your gut feeling.
So basically a gut feeling.
Yep, that's what it is.
You're visceral.
You're visceral.
Wow. Well, Ruth Ann, you know what? I enjoyed this podcast.
I'm glad you did.
Also, we've got a lot of videos that are going to be coming out from the truck show. And if you guys are watching Talk CDL's Facebook page, we have a video coming out, and I'm going to tell these guys about this, and I'm going to mention it on the next podcast too. But this video is of a guy has invented a bicycle, in-cab bicycle for exercising, and it hides underneath the passenger seat. It pops up, the seat comes up, there's a monitor and handlebars, and you just jump over there and start pedaling when you're at your rest if you want to use your exercise bike. It's pretty cool. And we've got a video of this thing in action. Mm-hmm. We videoed for the guy at the Louisville Truck Show. Mm-hmm. So keep a watch for that video, y'all. It's going to be pretty cool. Ruth Ann, I think we're out of here.
Peace.
Peace. Praise the Lord.